2-1. Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. I'm Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. And Coach, we were joking just before the show. I thought I wrote down May 1st by accident, but it's June 1st, which usually means the NBA Finals is right around the corner, but we're still early in the playoffs here.
Yeah, it has definitely changed. I remember crowning champions that maybe second week of June at the very latest, and now we're all the way into July. So we got a long ways to go, which is great for us. I don't want basketball to go away, but we've got some intense games, 2-3 game slates that will go down to 2 and 1 game slates. So it's going to be. We got a long ways to go till we have a champ here. And with all of these injuries, which it's mind-bending, Andrew, I was looking at that today. I don't remember a playoffs with this many injuries ever. Do you?
No, I mean, big guys too, with Westbrook questionable. Now today we've got AD looking like he probably won't play. And these are
Right.
slate changers, especially on small slates.
Yeah. Embiid, Mitchell was out initially, Chris Paul. I mean, you could go on and on and on. You take the top like 25 guys in the playoffs, literally half of them have gotten hurt. So I don't know if it's, a coincidence, condensed schedule, not enough time off between the bubble and the whole COVID thing. Who knows? But I can tell you that I followed this closely since probably I'd say the mid 70s, and that's a long time. I don't remember anything like this. So it's more than likely the champion may be just who has the ability to stay healthy. That's what it may come down to.
Yeah, it is going to be huge this year, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
And we do have some question marks in game one here.
we
Boston,
sure do.
Brooklyn, 7:30 tip. And it is the
Yeah,
highest total with the biggest spread. So very interesting scenario here. Total of 232.5. And Brooklyn favored by 12.5 on BetUS.com.pa, our presenting sponsor.
yeah,
This is an elimination game for Boston. And both sides had their guys play big minutes down to the wire in the last one. Will it happen again? Well, we don't think Kemba and Robert Williams are going to be involved in it either way, as they're both doubtful. And they both
right.
sat out the last one. So we'll probably get another spot start from Langford. Tatum backed it up with another huge game. He's expensive, but this offense has to run through him without Kemba. Marcus Smart is squarely in play for me as that sidekick now to Tatum, obviously involved on both ends. So
Right.
I like both those guys as considerations. I don't see any reason why they won't play heavy minutes here with the season on the line. Tristan Thompson didn't quite have the game 4 that he did before game 3. Didn't have the game 3 type game in game 4.
Right.
They did a better job on the defensive glass against him. A little bit of foul trouble, but he's still in consideration. On the bench, Jabari Parker back in the mix with 16 minutes, double-digit points. He's a 3K range on both sites. I like him a little bit more on DraftKings at 3,000. And Pritchard played pretty well with 24 minutes. He obviously got a big bump with Kemba out. And I do prefer him over Romeo Langford.
Right.
Langford, he's a starter, and sometimes that matters here with these value plays, but he's just not a stat stuffer. He's really not. He's out there playing some defense, running around, not really heavily involved. But when Pritchard's out there, he's got the ball. He's making things happen. So I'd rather go Pritchard over Langford if you're going to look there. I'd rather go Jabari Parker over Grant Williams. Again, just more of an offensive-minded player with a better upside. But you don't have to go to the Boston bench here. It's just a possibility. But I do like Tatum and Smart here as possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, you could be right on. I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, the thing that gets me here is, I would love to be able to just pass a lot on this game, but it's all the way up to 234. I just clicked on Bet Online. Uh, uh, I'm sorry, BetUS. BetUS has it at 234, and it was 232 and a half earlier. So it's not only a large number, it's going up. And when you compare it, to the 226 in the next game, it's, decent, but 207.5 in that last game. I mean, we're talking an enormous amount of potential DFS points that it's very hard to leave on the table. But, my gut feeling is, and sometimes in these type of scenarios, you have to go with what you're seeing. I just think that it's over for Boston. I think Brooklyn just lays it to them here. I don't see this being a game at all. I think, not being able to have Kemba and Williams and just being so shorthanded and just fighting for their lives every game. I just don't. I don't think this stays a game for very long. I think Brooklyn really hands it to them, and I know people, because of that 234 number, are going to stack this game or at least have some really good exposure. But I'm not going to. I'm going to take a stand here, not be heavy in this game, and try to load up the key guys, specifically in the next game, Andrew, but even some in that last game. So the Durant, Irving, Harden, phenomenal three. I think they split it up enough to not pay up for them. There is a possibility in that whole thought of possible blowout that, I may, especially in a GPP, take a chance with a Joe Harris or a Tyler Johnson, somebody like that is going to get mop-up duty, extra minutes, as the three big guys sort of split it. So looking for value on that side. And then on the other side, Tatum I've gone with just as an automatic plug and play. But, his usage has been off the charts, 40 minutes again. But his price is there. And I think I'm just gonna swallow hard here and fade him. He'll be the highest owned player on the slate. And I feel like the time is up for the Celtics, and they're going to see the handwriting on the wall. And I think Tatum can get to 5x, but I'm going to look for some guys at these, higher prices that I think in closer games can get to 7 or 8x. So I do like a secondary guy for Boston, maybe a Marcus Smart being the main guy. I think, he'll get all the minutes he can, and certainly nobody has more fight than him. So it's going to be very contrarian, but I'm going to be very light on this game, a couple of value plays, and I'm going to focus on these next two games, believe it or not.
Yeah, I understand why you would take that approach. And despite my support for Tatum, in my description, the first lineup I built did not have Tatum in it. It did have Marcus Smart. And I agree that that's a real concern here. Tough spot for Boston, no doubt about it. And
definitely,
all the key guys for Brooklyn were excellent. They played big minutes in the last game. But can we expect that? Will it be necessary? They're now in the position where I was describing with Philly on the last slate I was on, where if they're ready to close it out and they're about to, and they're up 15 in the fourth, are they going to play the key guys the extra 5 minutes? I don't think they will.
I don't either.
So,
by the way, I feel even better now about my pick of Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn wins the whole thing. I really do. I just, that firepower with those three guys and then everybody else getting injured and dinged, I don't know how anybody's going to be able to beat them 4 games with those 3 superstars. That's just me. But I think you're right, and I think that plays into what they're thinking, and I don't think they force those guys to get the extra minutes. I think they let the Bruce Browns and Joe Harris's and Tyler Johnsons finish up games like this.
Yeah, and you mentioned the injuries at the top of the show. Maybe Brooklyn has lucked out here where they kind of got their injuries out of the way towards the end of the regular season. Now everybody's healthy, and they will be extremely hard to beat if they stay that way. And then, if you look at a value play, I think I would prefer Bruce Brown the most, but he's always questionable for me because he can disappear and not do too much. But he's a good price on DraftKings. So if you do project the blowout, he is my favorite play as a value over Johnson and Harris. Harris on a different price tier there, around 5,000. So,
True.
this, I agree. This is, potentially the highest scoring game, but very risky to pay up here. And I would like to spend more in game two. So let's head to game two. It
Let's do
is
it. I do think game one, by the way, will be the highest owned.
okay.
So that's a nice edge for us too.
Yeah. So Portland, Denver. If
Yeah.
people look at the last total, Boston, Brooklyn, 267 points in the last game, Coach. Portland and Denver only 210. That
Wow.
took a nosedive. 3 games before that were all in the 230s, and the total today is 226. Denver favored by 2. But the last game was a blowout, and nobody on Denver played 30 minutes. Now they're going back home. It's tied up, and this is the pivotal game that we always talk about here. Game 5, 2-2.
Huge game.
I think whoever wins tonight wins the series. That's how it usually happens in this context.
Right.
So I think we get a much more competitive, close, high-scoring game than in Game 4. On the Portland side, I'll start with those visitors. The thing that jumped out in the last game is some of these Portland guys did play in the 30s minutes, and Lillard only took 10 shots. They got the ball out of his hands
Talk
more.
about tough defense, man.
Yeah, CJ picked it up, had more chances, 9 for 19. Powell was great as a scorer. Covington solid again. So CJ McCollum again, I prefer him a little bit more to Lillard. I mean, even if they're going to get the same amount of shots with his price discount, it's very appealing to me. But if he's going to get more shots some of these games, then that makes sense to me to look there. Covington, I really like his price as a value guy, getting big minutes, doing a little bit of everything. Nurkic is playable. He's a big savings from Jokic. We also have Ayton in that price range. Tristan Thompson cheaper. I think center's a tough decision today on FanDuel because I think the guys are fairly priced and they're pretty attractive. Not too interested in the Portland bench here, but like you, I'd like to get probably at least a couple guys from each side. I think my favorite on the Portland side right now would be McCollum and Covington.
Very good. This is the game. This is my stack game, and this is where I'm going to spend 2/3 of my salary right off the bat. I'm going right to Dame. I mean, 1 for 10 last game. Seriously, that's just not going to happen again. And the fact that he's back home, this game will probably decide, like you said, the series. I have no problem paying up for him. It's not like they did anything phenomenally defensively to change, him not getting shots. He just wasn't hitting them, and McCollum was hot, and so generally that flips around, and I think Lillard's the man. Now there's 2 scenarios I'm looking at right now. One where I would roster Lillard and McCollum, and then one where I would go Lillard and then a couple of secondary guys in Powell and Covington. I like the Covington price also. So that's where I'm looking right directly at here. Nurkic, again, you're right. He's playable. The guys off the bench, Anthony Simons, just too much risk there, in my opinion. It's this starting 5 that you got to focus on. And I'm going to have 2 or 3 of them. Covington's hard to pass up. Anybody that keeps getting upper 30s minutes at that price, I'm surprised they haven't raised his price a little bit, but we'll take it. We need all the value we can get. So I'm with you on that. I think I'm going right to the heavy hitters. And then on the other side, I'm going Joker. I think he's my center. And that's, I just announced basically 8/10 of my salary, it seems like. But, I think the Joker steps up here. I mean, he's been fantastic. And even in this game where, the minutes got spread around a little bit toward the end, he's just consistently getting the minutes and producing, and just a quadruple threat really to get it done. So after that, I'm going to have to find a couple value guys. As painful as it is, I am going to consider Gordon for a second just because of the cheap price, but he is hard to stomach the way he's played. I'm not going to be able to afford the Porter side. The question then is Rivers, Campazzo, Morris. Those are the three guys that I think are in consideration for. I'm probably going to roster one of them because I think they're all going to get mid-20s. One of them will get probably 30, and that's what I'm digging in on. Which Denver guard do I want to go to? I'm hoping people will go to Marcus Howard because he played 27 minutes and was 3 for 14 from the field. To me, that was an outlier. I don't think they're going to do that again, and I'm sure he'll get ownership, but I prefer the trio of Rivers, Campazzo, and Morris, and starting to lean slightly to Morris because of the price, and he is the vet of the three. He's healthier. He got 12 shots up last game. So, this is going to be a high exposure game. I think that I'm with you, and I'm glad you had, share the stats to prove it. I think this game could rival the Boston-Brooklyn game in total points. I really do. And, with the studs, with Lillard, on the one side with either McCollum and Powell and Covington, and then stacking up backwards to get that correlation here with the MVP, the Joker, and probably one of the guards at least with Rivers, Campazzo, and leaning towards Morris.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar with you on the Denver side. Jokic squarely in play. I do think he bounces back and is more like the MVP, like he was in games 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
Don't want to pay up for Porter Jr. the way that he's been uninvolved.
You know how many shots he got last game?
Like 5.
3.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Not good. I mean, like I
The
said,
dude never saw a shot he didn't like.
Yeah. Yeah. Gordon, I don't like his minutes or his usage, so I'm not going there.
He's playing so bad.
Yeah.
He really is.
I will look at these guards, though. Like you, I like Campazzo, Morris squarely in play. I like them both a little bit better than Rivers. We've seen he's been a little bit dinged up. We know he's volatile to begin with.
Hugely.
I like
GPP guy, probably. You're right.
Yeah, I can rely a little bit more on Monte Morris, I think. And I agree. Howard, I think, I don't think he's worth playing. Jermichael Green, playable if you need another value forward. He showed, recently he's got the upside, pretty dynamic. He'll hit threes, he'll drive to the basket, he'll get rebounds. So he's playable. But yeah, this is going to be key for us tonight, Coach. We need high-scoring, close battle here in Denver. Game 5, looking like that's the trend here as opposed to Boston-Brooklyn.
Yeah, and we may be, in the minority here. We're going to have to get Joe Stanton on the line because it's time for him to call in his Nuggets mojo here. What I'm saying?
That's right, absolutely. Well, before we get to Game 3, just want to invite folks to join us as a member at dfscoachtalk.com. Try out our 3-day pass for $10 and grab our lineups this week. And with any membership, you get all of our sports. So you get our baseball lineups. We've been solid there. Get our golf lineups. They'll be coming out tomorrow. So perfect time to join. dfscoachtalk.com. Any questions, reach out to us on Twitter at dfscoachtalk. You can also find the coach at JOESARVADI. You can find me at Language Olympic. And on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind, subscribe to that channel. We appreciate everybody who's been jumping on that bandwagon. And we're just growing the family here, so we'd love your support there.
Absolutely. A quick thumbs up, a quick subscribe, and hit that alert button up in the top corner. We would really appreciate that.
Excellent. All right, Game 3, Coach. Let's wrap it up strong here. Maybe stronger than we'll get for DFS output because this is by far the lowest total on the board. LA Phoenix, 207.5. Phoenix favored by 5 because Mr. Anthony Davis is doubtful. That's the way we look at it with the groin issue. We also have Pope. KCP is questionable. Chris Paul probable on the other side. We know he played through that shoulder issue in the last game and played well.
Yeah, he looked good, yeah.
So this is another 2-2 game, Coach. Wouldn't surprise me if it was a real battle, but these have been much lower scoring games than Portland-Denver.
Yeah.
189, 211, 204, and back under 200 in the last one at 192. So,
Crazy.
not expecting big points. We have great defense here, top 10 on both sides. Lakers #1 in the NBA. We are missing AD, so that does change things. Better matchup for Phoenix, more usage to go around for LA. LBJ is the first guy to consider. Now, his usage will certainly go up, but this is a tough series for him. The highest fantasy point total he's had in these 4 games is 46 on
That's
FanDuel.
amazing.
So
Yeah.
at 10,000, if he hits that, that's 4.6. That doesn't quite cut it.
No.
Will he do more in this pivotal game 5? I think he's going to give it his best effort. I think he's playable. I don't think he's a must play because of his price, but he's really important here, and he'll be in some lineups for me. Kuzma, going to be that running bait most likely, who finally stepped up when AD went down and had a reasonable output and performance and involvement. And his price is still cheap. I mean, 4,600, 4,300. He's not easy to trust. But if AD is ruled out ahead of time, I will be playing Kuzma in a lot of lineups. Don't know if I'll go with any of the other starters for the Lakers. I certainly don't want to get 3 of them out there. Schroeder got some good shot attempts, but was came down to earth, 3 for 13. He's still pretty pricey. Drummond didn't get very many minutes. Gasol stepped up and broke the slate off the bench.
That's crazy. That's where everybody's going to probably go to now all of a sudden.
And he'll be locked in for you. I know it, 100%. Both sites.
He'll be locked in on the bench eating popcorn.
Yeah. They really priced him up on FanDuel 52. I think that's a little much on this slate. 3,600 on DraftKings. I think you could look at that.
He did play great, though. I got to take my hat off to him.
Yep.
I love when the old guys that are just about done can ratchet it up and find something, I was happy for him.
Yeah, and he didn't really like the fact that they added these bigs during the season and Drummond and company. He was planning to be that starter on a championship contender, and so he's fighting back and playing well here and there. Caruso is a good price for his minutes. He's always an option if you have to go down to that range. But again, I don't want to get a bunch of Lakers here. So that'd be more of a 1-game slate type breakdown. On the main slate, I'm looking at maybe LeBron, probably Kuzma, and that's probably it for most lineups.
I really, this isn't going to be a hard one for me because, LeBron has done LeBron kind of things for all these years. And he is the kind of guy that steps up in the big moments. We've seen it over and over again. And he's really a one-man show here without AD because everybody else literally on this entire team has proven at one point or another that they're just not that good, certainly not consistent. I mean, there's not a guy in that bunch that you mentioned, that I would say, okay, this guy's going to go in there, play huge minutes, and be a great second guy for James. I don't trust Kuzma at all. Caruso has a lot of courage out there, but I don't know how much actual DFS skills he has to get all the points that you need. So for me, it's going to come down to roster construction with the salary. If I don't go with a second big Portland guy like McCollum, and try to just go with maybe a Lillard and Covington there, then I'm going to try to squeeze LeBron in. But if I do, I'll probably do 2 lineups and have LeBron in one, and then a total Lakers fade in the other. I think people are going to try to cherry pick at least one of these guys, whether it be Schroeder, Drummond, Kuzma, Caruso, Gasol. Those guys are all going to get play, and I don't trust a single one of them. I mean, you look at their shot totals, all that group I mentioned, was single-digit shot attempts, except for Schroeder and Kuzma, who got 11 and 13, but they really didn't do that much with them. They didn't get the ancillary numbers that you need, the periphery stats. So for me, it's pretty easy. I think the Lakers are in big trouble, and I think that LeBron at least is going to make this a game and really try to step up. But let's not forget, Phoenix's defense is just about as good as LA. It really is close. I know LA was one for the year, but with Davis off the floor, I would put these defenses as equal. And Phoenix has proven game after game that they get after it. I mean, Mikal Bridges is to me, a future first team all defensive player. If I'm in a pickup game, Jay Crowder's my first pick because he will kill you before he lets you score. I love that guy as far as how hard he plays. And the difference maker in this series for me, he only got 8 shots the last game, and I know he was highly owned, but he got 17 rebounds again, and it's Ayton. Ayton has been really impressive, and the two variant lineups I'm going to put together, the one that has LeBron, I won't be able to do, but the one that I'm not using LeBron on, I may put Ayton as a second center. And I know for me that's huge because I haven't rostered him since I had hair, I think. But with on Yahoo and DraftKings, it would be nice, to have the Joker and Ayton plugged in there and then making it work around those guys. So that's a potential situation. Now, Booker and Paul, for me, I think they're both terrific, but low-scoring game, they're sharing the ball. If Paul was still hurt a lot, I would say Booker was the guy, but, Paul's a leader. He looked fine to me in that last game, so with more rest and more treatments, I think he'll be himself. So I think it helps Phoenix's chances a lot to win this game, but I don't want to spend up for either one because they're both so expensive, and I think they split that. So I would go here value-wise with Bridges, Crowder, or Payne. I think, Payne's now, consistently through the season, end of the season, and through the playoffs is getting 25 to 30 minutes a game and playing a ton of minutes off the bench. So I think you can find great value on the Phoenix side and, probably just LeBron or bust on the other portion of this slate. So I'm excited to see these games, though. These 2-2 games are going to be absolutely fantastic. Some of these games yesterday were not that great, but I think we're going to see much better basketball tonight.
Yeah, on the Phoenix side, for me, I agree. Ayton's in play. He's been really solid this series. A little bit expensive, especially on FanDuel, up to 7,800.
Yeah,
gets real tough for him.
He's really gone up.
Yeah. So he is cheaper on DraftKings, and you get the 2 center possibility. So maybe he makes it in over there. But Chris Paul is 800 cheaper, and 6,600 for Chris Paul I think is a good price because he does seem to be trending towards better health. If he makes a couple 3-pointers to go along with everything else he does, then that could be a real nice price. I prefer Crowder over Bridges as a value play, and I do think he's a pretty solid price here. He's gone up a little bit on FanDuel to 5,500, but he can still create value with that price.
Definitely.
Payne really been playing great. He's been priced up a little bit, so he's not my favorite on this slate, but still within the realm of consideration. Don't think I'll go with any of the other bench guys on Phoenix. So, even though it is the lowest total, and I think it will be the lowest scoring game, I could see myself having a couple guys here, 2 or 3, just really because of the pricing. Guys like Chris Paul at 6,600 is on DraftKings is, just a better consideration for me than if he was close to 8,000 like he has been before.
Yeah, his value is great, and I think a lot of people will go there, but, there's always that outside fear that he tweaks that shoulder or bangs it. That's the scary part. But I agree with you. His price is great. Do you know who the all-time leader in the history of the NBA since the very beginning has the best assist-to-turnover ratio?
Is it Chris Paul?
It is Chris Paul. And you know what? It's not close. Like he trounces guys like John Stockton and all these guys. It's so much so that it's really amazing. If you remember, we talked about during the season, he had a stretch where he had 43 assists and 1 turnover.
Right. Yeah.
And this game here, he's playing hurt. They're hounding the hell out of him with two guys. He goes 9 assists, 0 turnovers. I mean, you talk about one of the greatest point guards in the history of the NBA. I mean, you can't argue it. He really is. He really, really is.
He really
But
combines the handle with the the maturity, the experience,
yeah,
the craftiness to know
amazing.
to know how to get to where he wants to go with whether he's going to work into one of those 15 to 17 foot fallaways where he's shooting over a taller defender and he's always able to get the shot off with the fallaway, or he's working towards an assist. I mean, he is a master.
I It baffles me. I mean, do you know how close a turnover to an assist is? Like, he threads the needle. It's not like he's getting these, secondary assists.
Right.
But
Or
against
not
the
taking any risk or not
yeah,
making tough passes.
I mean, it's unbelievable to me, and that it goes understated because turnover assist ratio as a coach, that's your favorite stat for your guards because yeah, it's great, when a Harden or a Jaw or these guys, get 9, 12 to 10 or 12 assists, but a lot of times you look, they got 5 or 6 or 7 turnovers. So, it's different when you add that up statistically and what it does for your team. But Paul just, I mean, I just am amazed. I looked at it this game and watched it closer because I thought this is going to be tough for him. Banged up against the best defense in the entire league, and let's see what he does. And lo and behold, there he goes, 9-0. So I respect him greatly. I just, it's tempting. At that price, it makes it extremely tempting. He will be high owned, but it feels like there's such a share it team. We've talked about that all year.
Yep.
And it's just like no one seems to just dominate and have massive games. They really do it together. So that makes it a decision that's not easy to make. But when you look at the price that you made a good point. I mean, Payne's price has gone up. These guys' prices have gone up, and Paul's has gone down. So I don't know if it's the algorithm because he missed a game, or I believe it might be. And so it may force the hand to play him. But I don't think he's just a smash spot. He's safe, I think, for maybe getting to value. But we got to keep him healthy. And as we've seen, yesterday was, you almost have to laugh. You get two guys hurt in the first quarter, two guys in foul trouble. It's like, what the hell's going on here? But I mean, that's 75% of the DFS world were shaking their heads the same way. So it's, you got to avoid the landmines, let's face it. And you can figure it out as best as you can. But, that's the little part of the element, Andrew, that is pure luck.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
You get a guy like Embiid going down early. It's that's tough to overcome, but that's
I waved the white flag for the first time this season.
well, that's the beauty of DFS and the NBA playoffs. We're back here again with another slate
Yes.
and all these challenges in terms of pricing and options. So we're going to crush it here this afternoon with our final decisions. Again, invite you folks to join us for our lineups tonight. We give out full lineups on FanDuel, Cash, GPP, full Yahoo lineup, core on DraftKings for GPP and Cash. So dfscoachdoc.com, grab a membership. We'll get you into our Discord with an email. Just do it about an hour ahead of the lock, and we'll get you in there because we give out the lineups about 20 to 30 minutes before lock. So that's the way to find us. And, of course, you can continue to find us wherever you're listening or watching because we're going to be here 7 days a week. So we appreciate all of your support. On behalf of the coach and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I'm Andrew Hansen. We'll see you again tomorrow as we look to crush it in DFS.